and Larry Gus is here. The sounds that you're hearing are the sounds of radio frequency radiation sources, various sources that we are all surrounded by every single day. So we will distinguish them for you once we start the presentation. But I want to thank you for coming. I'm glad you are here. And we have a fantastic PowerPoint for you. We will answer any questions you have afterwards. So if you can hold your questions until the end, that way we can manage the time because we have quite a few slides. And I would like to introduce Larry Gus. Larry has been doing environmental work for the last 27 years. He has been a building biologist, and he also specializes in electromagnetic radiation. He is the president of the board of directors of the Building Biology Institute. He has been for many, many years, and he has been an incredible contribution to the education. He is an instructor. He's a senior instructor of the electromagnetic courses at the Building Biology Institute. And the Institute is a non-profit organization, so we both represent the Institute here tonight. So if you would like to support this sort of education, please do so afterwards. We'll speak a little bit about it at the end. But at this point, I'd like to introduce Larry Gus, who will begin the presentation, and then I'll finish it up at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. So, technology is complicated, and it keeps getting more complicated all the time. So, what we've attempted to do is make this as simple as possible, but allowing you to go away with some fundamental understanding of what's going on. So, if you will bear with us when we get to the areas that are a bit more complicated, I'm kind of like cut it back to what just is worthwhile for you to know if you're going to live in this age and you're going to take action to do something about what we're going to be talking tonight about, which is the 5G situation. Okay, so we're going to start the evening off with a video, very short, by Martin Blank. He's from Columbia University. He was emeritus at the time he died, which was last year, unfortunately. And he a PhD in physical chemistry, political science, and you can see he's fairly well recognized in terms of appointments. He's been working for the Office of Naval Research. He became interested in electromagnetic radiation because he himself became sensitized to it. So he spent the last piece of his life doing research, and he represents the people who do research, health research in this area, and he's going to talk with you about that. This is an excerpt from 2010. We'll see him again later on in 2015, and you'll notice a much greater urgency and change in tone between this talk at the Commonwealth Club in New York City and the one we're going to see later.
I wish to speak to you as a scientist, and I will focus on the science. A lot of people talk about science, but not all of them are scientists. And many of the scientists who speak to you are not scientists in the area that they are supposed to be speaking about. I mean, you hear people, physicists, for example, will say that there can be no biological effects for the fact of the matter is they have not read the literature. I think one of the things you will walk away with after my talk is that there is evidence. You may not be able to evaluate it, but I'm telling you that this evidence has been published, it's been replicated, and it's been judged by scientists who are capable of judging it, that the electromagnetic fields of a variety of frequencies can cause biological effects, important biological effects, including damage to some fundamental molecules. And furthermore, that we have a fair idea of what the mechanism is. In other words, that there are ways in which we can understand how this can come about. And part of the answer to that mechanism comes from the evidence of the biological molecules themselves. Because if you know the right language, the cells can tell you what they are doing. In other words, we can act as translators of the biology to tell you what the cell is trying to do. And that's the thing that we have been able to do. All of this evidence points out to the fact that what the standards that we have today are totally inadequate. And that as any reasonable person, and this is something where I'm taking off my cap as a scientist and putting on my general cap as a citizen, and that is that when you come across situations where you find that there is a potential danger, you try and avoid it. You try to avoid it before it becomes a real danger. This is known as the precautionary principle, and there's every reason to invoke that principle and to apply it in this case. One of the molecules that is made by the DNA is an indication of stress. I put this down at the cellular stress response. We all know that when an organism gets into trouble, there are special secretions. We know about adrenaline, we know about cortisol. These are things that are secreted by the body to mobilize so that you can run and you can fight and you can get your energy mobilized. That's true on an organismic level. But each cell has its own defense mechanism. And this is known as the cellular stress response. This is something that when a cell comes in contact with an unfriendly environment. An unfriendly environment is something where the temperature is raised, where the pH, the acidity changes, and it's something that's going to endanger it. In other words, a condition that's not good for the cell to survive. It comes apart, the DNA in certain regions comes apart and starts to read the code to make stress proteins. Stress proteins there are about 20 of them in nature, and these are the ones that are used by the cell to counteract the bad effects of whatever the stimulus is in the environment that set it off. So that the stress protein is an indication by the cell in its own language that it has come in contact with something that is bad for it, that is potentially harmful. And what it's telling us is that when we know that the cell reacts to EMF in the environment, it is telling you that the cell feels it is potentially harmful. The cell has told us, you do the experiment yourself, it will make stress proteins, and it only makes the stress proteins when it is in a potentially harmful environment, and it makes it with EMF. We have found that it makes it with EMF in the ELF in the lowest frequency range. It makes it in radio frequency range. We know it makes it pretty much over the entire, and probably the most important part is the public education campaign. That is, people must be made aware of this issue. They must realize that even though they cannot see it or feel it, it's having its effect. And that these effects are cumulative, many are slow acting, and that you really can't beat it.
So, I wanted to point out to you, he said that the cells are telling us that you extreme a low frequency EMF, which is what we got running the lights here, is harmful and the cells react to it. That radio frequency radiation from radio waves that AM made way back when radio first started, all the way up through FM radio, TV, into radar range is harmful to the cells, and they react to it. So, although we're here tonight to talk about 5G, we're also going to talk about these other radiations because they are things you can do something about in your home fairly easily. You should know about what they are and how to handle them. So, we won't spend a lot of time on this busy diagram, but you can see here's visible light. Visible light is electromagnetic radiation. We have electromagnetic receptors, which are our eyes, and we can just happen to see that portion of the very, very, very broad frequency spectrum, from no vibration all the way up to billions of vibrations per minute. And the thing that most notable is right at the top of the ultraviolet, and we know ultraviolet from the sun, if you go high enough, UVC, it's damaging to the skin. You can get skin cancer from it because that energy is so high, it is disturbing the cellular mechanism in your skin. And just above that is X-rays, and it's all 100% agreed that X-rays, gamma rays, cosmic rays, they all cause problems with cells and cause difficulties with them in terms of cancer. So, power system electromagnetic fields. I was talking about the things that run our lights and refrigerators. They're actually in the air. There are radiations that come from the wiring and from the appliances and devices in our homes. And they're in the form of magnetic fields, which are measured in milligauss, and in the form of electric fields, which are measured in volts per meter. We'll get into those in turn, one after the other, take a look at those in more detail. If you take a look at these power system fields, there are these so-called extremely low frequency fields that Martin Paul Blank referred to in that little presentation he gave you. They're separate fields, and so they basically, if you want to measure them, they take separate instruments to measure them, or instruments that have two abilities to measure electric and magnetic fields. You can get these equipments. You can get these equipments at fairly low cost if you want to, do this sorts of things in your own home. We'll talk about those near the end. Where can you get the equipment? What does it cost? They have to be shielded by different methods. So you can't, get rid of a magnetic field in the same way you can block an electric field. We'll talk about that a bit later. The power system magnetic fields, sources, obviously utility lines that may be running down between the houses in your backyard, transmission lines which exist in some places. But there also, more importantly, are wiring faults in people's houses that cause excessive magnetic fields that shouldn't be there. And that's something you can't see, hear, or smell, and you need instrumentation to determine if it's there, and then you need a qualified electrician to figure out why, because these kinds of wire errors are violations of the electrical code. They shouldn't be there, but they are all over the place. But they're fixable. That's the other beautiful thing about that, if you have an issue in the house. There's current flow on water, gas pipes, ducts, AC lines, and cable TV lines, which shouldn't be there and represent sources of magnetic fields, which can be pretty high, and they can affect large parts of the house. Electrical devices. So basically, this unit has magnetic fields coming from it. The power supply for your computer or the charger for your cell phone, they all have electrical magnetic fields coming from them. They're called point sources. There are utility transformers which are out of the pole, maybe in your backyard, that round can that's hanging on the pole, or the square box sitting on the lawn in the front yard if you have buried cables. Those are high sources of magnetic field, and the beauty of those is they drop off really rapidly. So if you're 10 feet away, there's 1,000 times less than there would be if you were right next to the source. So we measure this with a Gauss meter. This happens to be a meter that you can get for, I think it's $138. That is both a magnetic and electric field measuring device. Health effects. This is the longest single study electromagnetic phenomenon. They started in the 1970s to look at this. And they demonstrated then that cancer and childhood leukemia are caused by these magnetic fields, as well as migraine headaches and cardiovascular disorders, sleeping disorders, and hormonal disorders. This is a pictorial showing you how these fields actually decrease. If you have a point source like this particular convection oven or this space heater, they drop off very quickly, like this curve right here. But if you have water flow on a current flow on a water pipe or a cable TV line, and this light runs down the center of your house from the back to the front, and you have current on that, that can cover 20, 30 feet either side of the pipe, and therefore it would immerse the house in, there's a chance of it immersing the house in abnormally high magnetic fields. There's a lot of differential in what official standards exist for the maximum level of magnetic fields. I didn't even bother showing the ones up here that go to 50,000 milligauss. These are some of the more reasonable ones, and you can see who they are. We really like building biology that talked about earlier, we like to be less than 0.2. It's achievable a lot of places. Less than 1.0 is certainly achievable in most places. If you're not near power lines or you don't have wiring errors. So homes that don't have wiring errors and aren't near power lines can usually have between 0.2 and 0.5 milligauss. My house in Ventura is 0.5 milligauss. Prudent avoidance, what you can do yourself. Your sleeping area is your first priority because healing takes place when you're sleeping, and these energies really interfere with the body's ability to do that healing repair work. So we want no magnetic field sources near the bed. So either your chargers that are plugged in next to the bed, water beds, heaters, heating pads that you plug in, they're all high sources of magnetic fields. If you're in a situation where you have another room on the other side of the wall and you've got stuff plugged in over there, TV maybe, or there's a refrigerator in the kitchen on the other side of the wall, those fields, those magnetic fields, they go right through everything. Very difficult to stop magnetic fields. So the only thing you can do is move the bed, move the source away from the place that people are occupying, particularly sleeping, reading, play areas where kids spend a lot of time. You can see where the pipe I talked about earlier running underneath the floor in a child's play area and causing high magnetic fields when they're on the floor all the time. This could be an issue, and we'll actually see an example of that in a bit. Clocks, if you have an old-fashioned plug-in clock with the lit-up numerals, they have very strong magnetic fields, and so it's probably a good idea not to have that right on that stand right next to your bed, where your head is. And plasma TVs have extraordinarily large magnetic fields, a bunch of other fields too. People who are reactive to electricity are usually reactive to plasma TVs. LCD TVs, which are a lot cheaper, are much better in that regard. They do not cast a energy so far out as do the plasma TVs. And then finally, things that you can't do yourself. Things you can't do yourself, you can't fix wiring problems. You can get a $35 instrument like this, and you can look at your own house to see if you've got a magnetic field, and you can make some arrangements with an electrician to come in, find the source, and hopefully turn it off. This is a case study that took place in Northern California, where a 4-year-old girl who was healthy, and then she became lethargic, rectal bleeding, no appetite. They took her to many, many doctors. She was perfectly healthy as far as the Western medical profession was concerned. And a neighbor who had bought one of these and was experimenting, came over to their house and discovered 80 millivolts fields in this child's bedroom and 80 millivolts fields in this child's play yard. So the water pipe went underneath the play yard, and part of the current that came into the house ran out the water pipe. It wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to go back out the wire that brought it in. And the wire that brought it in went right down the wall behind her bed, the crib. So that caused this 80 millivolts field. You couldn't see it, smell it, hear it. It was there. So they moved the child, and she completely recovered, and they had electrician in to discover the cause of that and fix the problem. So these instruments make the unseen seeable and visible to people. Now, that was our system magnetic field. There's another energy that comes with our electricity in our houses, and that other thing is electric fields. Magnetic fields come because of current flow. This is power running down a wire, and you can have magnetic fields if the wiring system in your house is not working like it's supposed to be working. If it's working like it's supposed to be working, then magnetic fields are not a problem. However, electric fields are a problem. Because not all, but most of the houses we have today, especially in California, have plastic jacketed wiring on the walls. It's called Romex years ago. Looks like lamp extension cord, except hardier and bigger. And also the lamp cords and cords on our appliances, they all emit electric fields, which look, if you can visualize it, look like hairs coming off the wires going out into space, looking for a place of lower voltage to go to. And so you can see all of the walls in our houses are radiating these fields, particularly in our bedrooms, right? Because bedrooms are maybe they're 10 by 10, 12 by 12, 12 by 14. You can never get far enough away from the wiring, and your bed's usually shoved up against the wall, right? So your head right against the wall, right against the wires that are in the walls, and your electric fields are getting onto your body, and we'll see what that means in a couple of slides. So these fields pervade all space. You're sitting in them right now. Some people who are really sensitive can feel them right now if they were in this room.
Larry, can I just, I forgot to ask everyone, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Sure.
There are some electrosensitive people in the room, so out of courtesy for them, would you mind putting all your cell phones on airplane mode rather than just silencing them because they're still emitting radio frequency radiation even though they may be silenced. So if you wouldn't mind just placing all your cell phones on airplane mode, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll take that opportunity. Your phone tells the telephone company about every 3 minutes where it is. It has to direct the call to the right cell phone tower to get to your phone. And every one of those apps you got running is doing stuff and transmitting data. Okay, we have your attention up front, and we'll continue. So this pervades all the spaces, and our body acts like an antenna, and you pick up these electric fields, and what does it do? It generates an alternating voltage in our body. Never existed before 1900. We did not grow up or develop with these kinds of fields on our body, so it makes sense that maybe they would have some sort of deleterious effect. And they do. This alternating voltage causes issues inside the cells. You measure that once again with a meter that is calibrating both Premature and this meter that we talked about earlier to do both of those things. So what do we see? Sleeping in elevated electric fields at night aggravates your allergy response during the day. It disturbs sleep. People who are in electric fields get up far more time to go to the bathroom than they do when we turn these things off. It causes night sweats in some people. It causes heart palpitations in some people. You turn the fields off, heart palpitations go away. We can turn the fields off, easy to do. So that's something that is to be rejoiced about. We have control over that. It causes muscle and nerve pain. I had a doctor in Atlanta whose house I did an analysis on, and he had nerve pain in his legs, and every morning for years, and drive him up. And he couldn't sleep any later than maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, and when we discovered which circuits in the house were causing the electric field, and we turned those off, we never had any nerve pain. Again, waking tired. I mean, how many of you wake tired? How many people do you know wake up tired? Not sleeping well, tossing and turning, flipping and flopping. That's what my wife told me. I did pancake until we turned the field off, and then I slept on my back all night. So it makes a profound change for most people. Daytime irritability is another issue. Obviously, you're not sleeping well. That seems like something that would be, pretty apparent. And then bedwetting in children. So this is a central nervous system irritant, and our nervous system runs on electricity. Nerves fired about 15 millivolts, DC, not AC. This is a case study about electric fields. This young man was 13 years old. He'd been bedwetting since he was very young. He'd been to all kinds of doctors. And he finally been taken to a psychiatrist with no organic problems were identified, and the psychiatrist put him in a pair of kind of like electric pants. That would, when he urinated, would turn an alarm on in the bathroom, forcing him to get up, go to the bathroom, teach him, wake up and go to the bathroom. So that didn't have any result. So when we measured his room, or his body, there was like 5,000 millivolts, or like 5 volts AC on his body, and we turned off the circuits, and that night there was no more bedroom. So this is pretty powerful stuff. Even if it's not killing you, it's doing things to you. Remember what Martin Blank was saying, this has its way with you, whether you know it or not.
Can you clarify what electric fields you mean? I mean, cell phones or computers?
No, this electric fields come from the wiring in your house. Nothing to do with cell phones. We will be getting to cell phones that create radio frequencies later. Does that make sense to you?
So how can you turn the electric field?
When you turn the circuit breaker off, that supplies the power to your bedroom. You don't need, usually you don't need to have that at night. The people who do, we can make other arrangements to get the power there, but not have the electric fields. So that's how we handle it. So we've been doing that for, I mean, at this 27 years. We were doing this 27 years ago. We didn't have any RF.
Do you mean you would turn it off from the whole house?
Well, you could, but it's not, electricity, air conditioning. We just turn off, we find out which circuits are required to be turned off to have low body voltage at night in the bedroom. So we turn those off at night. And there's remote control systems you can get. Electric field, what does the authorities say about this? Well, this is the Swedish Workers Union, Office Workers Union, 10 volts per meter. The EPA, this is a nice report that got quashed in 1990, never came out. 10 is the maximum. Oxidative studies showing all of these problems in fields of between 10 and 20. I'll tell you, 10 to 20 is the usual level in your bedroom. So these things are going on inside you whether you know it or not. The building knowledge and keeping those guidelines no more than 1.5. You can't get that without turning the power off in the bedroom or doing other shielding methods. We touch on those briefly later on in the program today. Typical home, 10 to 30 millivolts, depending on the age and the type of wiring the house in the home. Particularly bad are homes that were wired in the 20s and 30s and early 40s, because they have what knob and tube wiring, where the wires are separate wires that run up and up the studs inside the wall. They generate huge magnetic and electric fields because of that separation. Okay, so what can you do about these electric fields? Well, number one, you can unplug all the electrical devices within 6 feet of your bed. That'll have a 30-40% reduction in effect.
Actually, outlets, do they actually exude a field without?
Well, the wiring that goes to the outlets causes fields to come off. So the extension cords and power strips, they just add to it. This is all additive. The more wires you've got around your bed, the higher your body voltage is going to be from these things.
Excuse me, is this 6 feet, does that apply to 12 volts as well?
Well, 12 volts is less strong, so maybe you can get closer. I will tell you that the charger for your cell phone, which is like 5 volts, I see major effects from people. Those cell phone chargers are sitting on the nightstand, not being used. They're not being charging anything, but they have a voltage on them. You can see it immediately in the voltage readings, the body voltage readings, and you have to get rid of it. So no chargers on the nightstand next to you. You got to eliminate electric blankets, water-based heaters, heating pads. They cause huge magnetic fields and huge electric fields. You're fighting a headache, you put this electrical thing on your head, you got 20 milligauss magnetic fields, and you got a body, you got a body voltage of 10, 20 volts per meter. It's insane. So use things that you heat up in the microwave or something like that, so that no electricity associated with it. Electrically operated beds, hospital beds. You can't believe we do these things to ourselves. Hospital beds have high magnetic fields, they have high electric fields, really high. And even these sleep number beds have these things. So if you got these sorts of things, put the bed in the way you want to have it, and then unplug the power supply. That'll take care of the problem. Or you can get some of these remote control switches, you know, you plug into the outlet and you plug your bed into that, and you can turn it on and off when you're from bed. But they're not very healthy. Bad to have it on. And then, of course, we're left back down to the plastic jacket wiring through the walls. And in essence, to really get down to the levels I'm talking about, you gotta turn the power off for the wires that are in the walls around the bed, under the bed if it's a second floor, over the bed. And most houses now have like a lattice of wires. They're everywhere. Newer houses have more wires. So turning off the circuit breakers. And you'll see some equipment that's not very expensive that you can get, so you could do that in your room and your kid's room yourself.
What about smoke detectors and radon detectors that are on a wire?
So what happens if you turn it off, you mean?
Yeah, should we turn those on?
No, well, you know, that's one of those things where maybe you need to have that running, so you need to have some electrical work done to create a power
battery operating, right?
Well, you can get battery operated, yeah, that would work fine. I mean, you know, most of the building codes require you to have ones that plug in, but you could disconnect, you know, those will be off, and you can buy ones at the store that run on a battery. The batteries now are good for 10 years on smoke detectors, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide detectors. So that's one way to go. And then, you know, using a meter to find these that are taking some action, you can get those and do it yourself. If you're so inclined, you can contact one of us if you want to have it done. So, that's a quick tour through power system evils, the stuff that we've been living with since the turn of the century when they began to wire houses. I'll tell you that the book that is all very interesting called Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg begins in like 1850 with the advent of the telegraph in Europe. And health effects started happening when the telegraph wires were strung. And that just blew me away when I saw that, which was just last year. So, I mean, these have been relatively mild effects, and we've been, so we're going to be buried by this stuff. All right, so another videotape. This is 5 years later, Martin Blind.
I'm here with disturbing news about our favorite gadgets, cell phones, tablets, Wi-Fi, etc. Putting it bluntly, they are damaging the living cells in our bodies and killing many of us prematurely. I'm Dr. Martin Blank from the Department of Physiology and Cellular Biophysics at Columbia University. It is distressing for me and more than 160 colleagues who today are petitioning the United Nations requesting that they address this problem. We are scientists and engineers, and I'm here to tell you we have created something that is harming us, and it is getting out of control. Before Edison's light bulb, there was very little electromagnetic radiation in our environment. The levels today are very many times higher than natural background levels, and are growing rapidly because of all the new devices that emit this radiation. An example that a lot of us have in our pockets right now is the cell phone. One study shows that as cell phone usage has spread widely, the incidence of fatal brain cancer in younger people has more than tripled. We are putting cellular antennas on residential buildings and on top of hospitals where people are trying to get well. Wireless utility meters and cell towers are blanketing our neighborhoods with radiation. It's particularly frightening that radiation from our telecommunication and power line technology is damaging the DNA in our cells. It is clear to many biologists that this can account for the rising cancer rates. Future generations, our children, are at risk. These biologists and scientists are not being heard on the committees that set safety standards. The biological facts are being ignored, and as a result, the safety limits are much too high. They are not protected. More protection will probably result in full disclosure of possible conflicts of interest between regulators and industry. Rising exposure to electromagnetic radiation is a global problem. The World Health Organization and international standard-setting bodies are not acting to protect the public's health and well-being. International exposure guidelines for electromagnetic fields must be strengthened to reflect the reality of their impact on our bodies, and in particular, on our DNA. Although we are still in the midst of a great technological transformation, the time to deal with the harmful biological aspect is long overdue. We are really all part of a large biological experiment without our informed consent. To protect our children, ourselves, and our ecosystem, we must reduce exposure by establishing more protective guidelines. And so today, scientists from around the world are submitting an appeal to the United Nations, its member states, and the World Health Organization to provide leadership in dealing with this emerging public health crisis.
So how much action do you think took place in 2015 based on this appeal?
Not much.
None. No action. And now we have, nearly 5 years later, arrived at 5G. The penultimate in the pile that we're putting ourselves under. Going back to our electromagnetic spectrum, which is all tied together by the rate at which the energies vibrate, we're dealing now with the radio frequency band, and you can see all the various types of equipment that are part of this radio frequency band, all the way up to way over 10 gigahertz. And we're filling it up rapidly with man-made radiation.
Does an AM radio run on batteries? Is that equipment?
No, it doesn't make any difference. Yes, your cell phone runs on batteries. It doesn't make any difference where the power comes from. It's the emissions that come out of the device which are the problem.
So having an AM radio next to your head at night would be advisable?
Well, not because it's radiating anything, but because it has a power supply in it that has strong magnetic fields coming from it. Power system magnetic field. Okay, so wireless communications RF, the ubiquitous cell phone and the antennas that supply the signal to this phone. It's not just the phone, it's the environment full of signals that are reaching the phone from all of these cell phone towers. Bluetooth devices, how many have a little thing they plug in their ear? So you got a Bluetooth device, another RF signal, very strong, close in. And that's going right in your brain. Baby monitors, so many video baby monitors now that are wireless. That is child abuse, in my opinion. Utility smart meters, which we've all got, they broadcast RF on the side of your house. We all have a little cell phone antenna on the side of our house, and the neighbors got it on their house, they may be radiating your house, and you're radiating their house. Cordless telephone, very convenient. Deadly for your brain. Wireless internet, or so-called Wi-Fi connections. When you have a device, like my cell phone, and you're looking at a movie or doing email, and there's no wire connected to it, where's the signal going? Through the air. And that is the issue we're dealing with tonight. The signal through the air. All of these signals through the air, just that 5G is a particularly egregious change in the environment, and we'll review in a while that is. So there's also neighborhood Wi-Fi, where everybody can get like Wi-Fi without having to even have a wire to their house. It's just coming into their house. Wirelessly connected laptop computers and tablets and all those things. All wireless, all energy in the air, all packaged. Wireless games, Wii, Xbox 360, these units never turn off. You quit using them, you push the off button, and they're still broadcasting out into the environment. You have to unplug them to get them to go off. Digital broadcast TV, they went digital to TV probably 15 years ago. So it made it worse because digital signals, 30 years ago, they figured out that pulsing signals that change abruptly are much worse biologically than the radiation that came from our electrical system that we've been living with for since the turn of the century. Home entertainment systems, so smart TVs, they all have a little Wi-Fi transmitter in them and they're transmitting all the time. The cable box probably has wireless in it. If you have a control system that turns your TV on and off and your cable box on and off, and you're doing it through a closed door, it's RF, and it never shuts off. It's always broadcasting RF into the area of the family member living room where that receiver is located. So these sources are inside and outside the home, but believe me, for most of us, we're doing most of the damage ourselves. We brought it all into our homes and we're living with it, and it's having its way with us, even if you don't know what's doing it.
Oh, excuse me, is it, what about hotels? It seems like hotels have all everything. Have you seen it in a hotel? Okay.
Oh, yes, I can't sleep in hotels. I have an 8 by 12 foot sheet of RF cloth, which I tack to the headboard and drape over the bed, like a lean-to, over both sides, and then I can sleep. So I carry that with me when I'm traveling.
What about in a car? If you can't sleep in a hotel, what if you sleep in a car?
I don't sleep in the car. It keeps me awake.
What is that?
I mean, all of these things, I mean, when you're sleeping, you're in a rest state. You know, ticking grandfather's clock would probably drive you nuts, and much less ability to take into account with your body disturbances. So, we're kind of hopeful if you clean up your living environment, or your sleeping environment, that this will give you an edge, a leg up, at keeping your body healthy for the long term. Because when you're out during the day or you're in the office, you don't have any control over these things, and you have to make up for that at night by having a clean environment. This is just pointing out that you have two-way communications between the cell phone and the antenna, whether you're talking, texting, emailing, or you're getting data to your news feed. So the antennas are just as big a problem as are the cell phones, particularly for people who don't even have cell phones. And you can see here, the antenna is actually like a flashlight. So there's a beam coming off of this vertical antenna, and things that are directly in the way of it have fairly high radiation levels. Even things down below the antenna, you would think, a flashlight beam, it wouldn't be bothering the area below, but the radiation levels are quite high below these antennas as well. You see that effect on, it's an apartment building, they mount these antennas on the roof of the apartment building right in the corners, and then you measure inside that top apartment, and the numbers are huge, and like 20,000 microwatts, and we'll see what that means if we have a little table a bit later here. Was there a question?
Yeah, I was wondering how it compares with an X-ray.
Well, X-ray is known to injure yourself.
I mean, the amount of radiation.
Well, I don't know the answer to the question. The X-rays are gotten to be very, very small quantities over the years, and still be able to do the job. That is incidentally very interesting that this phone, and yours too, probably works with 2 bars, right? 2 bars is extraordinarily low level. It's like 0.02 megawatts. But because cell phone towers have to blast this out over the landscape, some people are subjected to much higher levels because they're moving closer to the source of the radiation. RF health issues. So there's thermal. Everybody's agreed because you put the turkey in after you brown it, of course, into the microwave oven, and what happens to it? It gets hot and it cooks. The same thing's happening with your head. Right? What you are depending upon in that turkey is the turkey has got water molecules in it, right? In the flesh. And the water molecules are going like this, 2.4 billion times a second. That creates friction. That friction is up the turkey. You cook it. That's what's going on in your head. The thing that's going on in your head is that blood flow is removing the heat from that area where the phone is. And that's why you have a 1.6 watts per kilogram rating on your cell phone. You can't go over that with a cell phone because they say after that there's too much radiation and your head heats up. Problem is, of course, your eyes don't have the same blood flow as your flash. So that's why we've got cataracts going out of sight, because we're losing our eyes by radiation from our phones. So that's the thermal effect. That's been recognized, they just didn't really handle it very well. Then, of course, there's the non-thermal, which everybody didn't want to recognize, and the government still doesn't want to recognize. And this is a pictorial showing a valve in the wall of your cell. And this valve opens and closes. You can see the little stopper here. And what opens and closes is electricity, body electricity. And this happens to be the voltage-gated calcium channel, so that allows calcium ions to flow in and out of your cell. So we turn that on with all kinds of EMF, man-made EMF. And that causes problems, and we're now understanding what those problems are.
And the problem is like, is it like calcium deficiency, or what kind of problem specifically?
Well,
is it draws out the calcium, or is it?
Excess calcium ions create excess free radicals. Free radicals attack the cells and cause premature aging. That is proven.
And so like immune disorders and all that stuff can also be caused by that. Immune disorders.
That's right. So, according to Martin Paul, who we'll see a little bit later, this, to him, after studying this for some number of years, seems to be either the effect or the main effect. Alzheimer's, what's the problem with the boys are having? Autism, cancer. The list just goes on and on and on. Many of these things aren't like proven because we haven't done enough studies from various people doing the same studies, but they are suggested, and premature aging is proven. What's happening to your organs? They're aging prematurely, not only your skin, but your organs.
And the cause are it?
I'm sorry?
And are you saying the cause of those conditions is RF?
Well, radiation from the electrical wiring, radiation from your devices, except that the pulse radiation is worse. So evidently the effect is more pronounced with the stuff we've added in the last 10 years. So, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, is in charge of protecting us. And they have a thermal protection standard that was established in 1992. It's based on tissue heating, or the microwave oven effect, remember the turkey. And they set the level that your cell phone can put out against your head at 1/10 that needed to get tissue heating. So, and that's called the SAR. Everybody remember the SAR rate that your phone, someplace in literature you'll find a SAR rate of your phone. Unfortunately, there's a lot of unfounded assumptions about the amount of energy that you can use or you can stand, because it's the eye versus the flesh issue. And they, they're assuming some sort of uniform gel inside your head, and your head is not uniform. It's got all kinds of different things going into it. And so this is the way we measure the SAR. You have a dummy with a head full of gel, and they measure, put the phone here, and they measure the temperature rise in the gel. Brain cancer is going up astronomically. Nobody violating the 1.6 watts per kilogram SAR limit. Okay. Here's what it looks like when you use a cell phone for 15 minutes. This is the thermography, where the red is increased temperature, so you can see it's like all over your face.
And what if you use it like this?
Well, that's going to help. But it doesn't help the problem we're talking about. Brain heating and brain cancer is just one extreme of this whole thing. We have our environment full of this radiation. Even if you have no cell phone, you're still subjected to this, and these things are happening with your voltage-gated calcium channels when you use cell phone. Not what you're talking about.
Does that include using earbuds?
Does it what?
Include using earbuds?
Well, I mean, no, that's better to use an earbud.
They're wired versus wireless.
Wired, yeah, wired
Wired is better than
earbuds
wireless.
is you know, if your hearing is good enough, you can get the kind of earbuds that have air tubes on them, and there's no wire for the last foot. It's an air tube, and the sound moves up the inside of a hollow tube. But all of those things are like kidding yourself. I mean, if you think you can use a cell phone as your only telephone, you're kidding yourself. This is all about how much radiation do you get over an extended period of time and what's going to happen to your body and your brain. So you need to have a landline. You need to have your cell phone call forward to your landline when you're home, not have it going on airplane mode. Most computers now, you can do texts on the computers. The computers can be hardwired to the internet. They don't have to be going through the air. Many things you can do in your own environment that are much more important than where the cell phone tower is right now. Until we get 5G, and we're going to get 5G. But what's keeping you all here, I don't know about 5G, is very dead.
I'm sorry, and where's the cell phone tower?
Well, there's a cell tower like every mile, and
there's one at the end of Sola and Garden Street.
If you see what they look like, and we have some pictures coming up, you'll see these things all over the place. It's sort of like buying a Toyota Celica, and suddenly you see them like all over.